All right, hey everybody, it's Darren Tipton and Matchday Live, improvising big time from Lincoln, Nebraska. And from the hotel, we had some plans. We're going to get started a little bit early just in case we have some internet difficulties. Wasn't sure what kind of Wi-Fi we had, but yeah, so we had some big time plans. We were supposed to be literally amongst the people here in Lincoln, literally at a sports bar about 150 feet away from where we are right now. And we came down this summer. And if you remember, we did the match day live from the spring match. We came down in April, I guess, not the summer. Came down in April and wanted to test things out because we couldn't believe it. The great folks of Nebraska and the volleyball state of Nebraska, we called ahead and they were such big supporters. And we told them what we wanted to do, be down here for 4 days and do the show just like football does, and have the whole setup with our stage and our multi cameras and everything, and come down during their slow times and stay out of the way, whatever. And met the owners and introduced me to their entertainment director, and we worked on all the setup and the sound and showed me all their connections and their big screen projector and how it would work in August, and we could project it out onto the patio and we would advertise it and everything else. And we did the show for the spring match, and it was great. We had about 20 people even just camp out there for the spring match day live. And maybe some of you watched it. We have it on our YouTube channel, and it was great. And in the Midwest here, we kind of do things with a handshake, and away we go. And said, hey, what do you need from us? And they said, this will be great. We'll call us about a month out and double check on everything. We'll be good to go. And so that's what we did. And we actually got a camera crew and a co-host and had lined up some guests, and away we went. And so we did that and called about a month out, which was about a week before I do my other job, which is about 55 fundraisers in about 3 weeks. And so I was about to get really busy. So we reached out by text message and just said, hey, checking in, got everything ready to go, and double check in what you need from us. And we'll be there on today, get everything set. And here's kind of our schedules of the show, and we're ready to go. And nope. Ex-establishment said nope, and just acted like they'd never seen us before. And so as the way things go with I guess money or something, we weren't doing it there anymore. And so then we thought the thing was off, and we weren't going to be allowed to do it in there, I guess. And every place else was pretty much booked downtown and be pretty busy. And so we didn't think we were doing it. And then we still wanted to come down here anyway. So we called the hotel, and they're like, hey, just come down if you want, try and set up in the lobby. So as of like 3 nights ago, we're like, that's what we'll do. And then we came today and they're like, oh, except for tonight, the lobby's being uh, cleaned and you can't be down there tonight. So we're back to what I would do at home, and we're set up in my room. So tonight we're doing it from the room. And then tomorrow and Saturday, we will do it from the lobby um, in the breakfast bar. So what the heck? It's kind of live. And then we'll see what trouble we can get in Nashville a week from now. But not hospitable in Lincoln, I guess. They can be bought by money too at the corner bar. So we're doing the best we can, but we're here. Mac set up all of the notes, but she had other plans tonight. So we're going through them. Her and I talked through the show on the way down and went through our preseason notes. She just couldn't be on the show tonight. And we've been going back and forth through things about the season and talking the season and this event. She just couldn't be on it tonight. So I'll go through things and still trying to line up a couple of the VIP guests that'll be around. Nobody's in really tonight, but tomorrow, and as coaches come in and out for practices, hoping to round a couple of them up tomorrow and then Saturday as they're coming in and out. And so yeah, I put a little wrench in our plans, but we're doing the best we can, and we're hoping to be right in the middle of the action. But again, we'll just wing it, and it is going to be a really, really cool environment. Lincoln is an amazing town, as I found out in April, so I can't wait just to get done with our shows and then just go walk around, because it's going to be crazy. And the people here and the fans here are intense, and over at Pinnacle, it is going to be like a Final Four. So it's going to be great volleyball. This is a great event that the ABCA puts together, and expanding the field this year is going to be even better. You got some of the top teams in the country. And so Mac and I were talking about that as I had her put the slides together today as I was driving. And Mac's like, oh, am I putting the matches together for tomorrow? And I'm like, no, it's just a lot of the teams from our Final Four match day live that we did last year are just here. It's just some of the top teams are here. So it's almost like a Final Four preview. They're just here at the start of the year. So great teams, great action, great atmosphere. We're just winging it from a hotel. So without further ado, we'll just get into Matchday Live. There's some of the culprits that you're going to see. We look at those teams. I mean, first Bergen, I can't believe junior already and a captain for Nebraska. And then we go through, 1 and 2 with Penn State and Ava. I mean, yeah, we're going to talk more about their story. And up in the corner that's not a great picture, of the Commodore swinging, but Vanderbilt and that story with their first match. And I talked to Coach Anders, a couple days ago, and he's going to try and sneak over after their or on their way to their practice and or their serve and pass, and just stop in and talk for a few minutes on Saturday. And they're finally playing. I mean, what a long road for them to put the program completely together. And now they're finally doing it, to be back on the sidelines again, and crazy that it's actually real now. Creighton back on the court, look, Brian, the head coach now, and it's real. And he's finally coaching an official match as the head coach. Kansas, their new look with the new staff, finally in place. The totally new roster finally getting in a match. Stanford, we're going to talk a lot about their talented freshman class. Yes, they have veterans coming back, but one of the top recruiting classes ever. And just how quickly do they get up to speed? How many of them are playing? We'll see that coming up here tomorrow. And again, they'll be very, very good. Just how quickly are they very, very good? And then down in the bottom, Florida, and just a lot of questions there. And, you can tippy toe around it, but there's a lot of questions, and there have been in the offseason, but a very veteran team and a very talented team that just lost a huge piece. And how does it affect them? So a lot of the questions going on as we head into this season. And so let's jump into it. Not the most talented social media person. And so when you put me in charge, hey, that's what I came up with. And this will be on our social media later for all of you opposing teams and fans chasing Penn State. Operation Lion Hunt is what I came up with. But that's what I'm calling it. You guys can give it a better name. But y'all chasing the Nittany Lions for the season. But here we go. NCAA volleyball 2025. And those are some of the culprits. I'm sure right away the Cardinal isn't in there, but who else is chasing Penn State? And who else is chasing Penn State for that title this year? And will it be an outlier? Will it be a Cinderella? Will we have a team that finally breaks through and cracks the code to get to a Final Four, right? Will volleyball have its Cinderella story? But right there, we have quite a few of the blue blood programs, and those are the mascots going for it. But you're going after the Nittany Lions with such a run last year, and coming together for Coach Katie and Coach of the Year and first female coach. We know all those storylines last year, but Texas freshman class is there, and Tori Stafford, who we're going to talk about quite a bit, as impactful of a transfer as I think there could be, at least according to our PPV rankings. There isn't a higher valued transfer ever. Wisconsin has loaded up with another completely new transfer class to go with their setter, who's just voted captain or selected captain today. We're going to talk a lot about Nebraska. A&M, I know they love that collie, but that just doesn't strike fear in me. If I'm an opponent, I don't know if that dog can do damage to a Nittany Lion. But it's a cute thing. But A&M, we're going to talk about that program a little bit, that I think is being way undervalued. And I know they're feeling pretty darn good in Aggieville. Not only by what they have, but what they have coming in. They got things going. Coach Morrison and the crew really have things going in Texas A&M now. They just need to get it going and earn that respect that I'm guessing only comes from those big wins. But they had one, right? They knocked off Texas last year, so they got that win. They just, maybe they're that Rodney Dangerfield, for you old timers like me, that Rodney Dangerfield can't get any respect in college volleyball. But I think you need to look at Texas A&M. You need to look at Texas A&M and what they're doing. And then on the other side, I mean, Louisville, of course, but they've got some changes starting that head coaching position. The roster turnover, they lost some very key weapons and leaders. BYU, first of all, that mascot gets paid more than any of the athletes to perform. And I don't think he's ever at volleyball matches, but a mean looking son of a gun and a heck of a performer. But he would strike fear, I think, in a Nittany Lion. The mascot would, and their outside hitters should strike fear in the Nittany Lions, I think. If there's a Cinderella, that would be my Cinderella pick. That's who I'm riding with, is BYU this year. Creighton, new coach, new lineup, but very talented. And do not put Creighton in a corner, or Coach Brian is coming out. Coach Brian's coming out firing, and you're not going to put Creighton down and not give them respect, or he's coming out firing. And I love that about the guy. So you'll give Creighton respect. We're going to see him here in a couple days, and we're going to get that rematch with the Lions. So they are going on the Lion hunt literally in about 60 hours here. So Pitt, that's a weak looking Panther. I could have found a much better one of those, but they are the program that I've been doing the most thinking about, wondering what they're going to look like. And I think everybody did them a disservice when there was the Stafford transfer, and then coming off the Final Four loss, which, they will tell you they were disappointed. I mean, anybody in any sport, when you're number one and you get upset, that hurts. That hurts and it stings. And there was a lot of emotion with that, and it takes a while. But you get back up and you go to work, and when you're coaches, you put the pieces back together, and that's what you do when you're a competitor. And when you're the athletes, you get your rear ends up and you work even harder, and that's what you do. And you find that inside of you to go at it again, and you don't quit, you work harder. And if you know that coaching staff, I don't know how they found a way to work harder, but they have. And I'm excited to see what they are. It won't be the same team, but they'll be a very, very good team. Now, number 3, I don't think they're number 3 at the beginning of the year, simply because they have so many changes. And I don't think they wanted to be number 3 at the beginning of the season. I think they're probably hoping that they were maybe where A&M was, where they are like number 9 or number 10 at the beginning of the year. But that's what making 4 consecutive Final Four gets you, is a lot of respect. And they're number 3. I think they're going to be a very, very good team. I wrote an article about the ACC about a month ago, and I'm like, the ACC in a year of change hasn't changed a bit. Pitt, Louisville, Stanford, SMU. It's exactly the same, just with a lot of new faces. Speaking of that, there's Louisville, and we talked about them. And then Kentucky, who will be Kentucky, and the most amazing schedule you've ever seen, with a brand new setter, whoever that brand new setter is, and some new pieces. And it's just going to take them a while. And it's crazy. So that's who's chasing the Lions. And let's go. And I'm guessing they'll be up for the task. They will be up for the task knowing their coaching staff and just knowing the makeup of that team. Now, this was Max, and this is not a knock, but this is what Nebraska should win it all more often. They just should. And they got the team to do it. Like Danny, coach, is talking about making all of these lineup changes and all these different lineups and playing all this different personnel because she can, because they have the deepest and the most talented roster in the country. And they had it last year and the year before that. They've gone into the tournament number 1 overall seed before, a couple times. And the favorites, right? And Husker Nation has been, on cloud 9 many, many times. I just listened to part of the press conference that I didn't know there was. But there was a ABCA press conference today. And so I listened to it as I was driving up here. And one of the captains did a really good job. And it wasn't cocky, it was confidence. But they talked about this atmosphere being like a Final Four. And they were really happy for that because it was good for their newbies to get them ready for the end of the year. So that wasn't new to them at the end of the year. Right? Now, a lot of teams, if a lot of teams would say that would be taken as cockiness, right? But it's just like they say it's Nebraska, right? And it's just the way they're thinking, and their media just is kind of even more so like that this year, right? And they're that deep. So is this the year that they finally win it all? Meaning they shouldn't have gone 9 years without a national championship. And as everybody told me, the best coach ever, and the best facilities, and the most money and all that. So is this the year they get it done in the Final Four? And this group that are now juniors, is extremely talented. So we're, All-American, second person in there, former Big Ten Player of the Year, 2-time All-American, Lib Mock, very, very good, bro. And then we have a whole another lineup or two that we haven't put on there yet. And I'm telling you, I just think the demeanor when I was at camp this summer is just so laid back that I think that's going to make a huge difference. So that's going to be the question all year. Fortunately, there's really nothing for them to prove until like December 20th. They've done everything else until they get there. So that's going to be their big question. Their big question on the year is, do they get it done? Now, another huge thing this year is just a ton of big time legendary coaches and big time legendary coaches stepping down, and former assistants stepping in, sliding over, coming back. So that's a major question this year, and a big focal point of the season, or it really took up a lot of our off season, that's for sure, and helped us Midwesterners get through the the cold months, and gave us something to talk about by the fire, that's for sure. And so, start with these and Mary Wise stepping down, and kind of Mac and I were talking, and we talked in the winter about this, that a big part of it was the timing. And I don't know, well, with the way the calendar works, there's a buzzword in volleyball, calendar, and the way the calendar's set up. But the way the calendar works, it was odd with the way some of these coaches were set up or not set up, recruiting wise, timing wise, spring ball, etc. But um, the Florida deal just hasn't been awesome. It just hasn't been. It just hasn't worked out well. From recruiting standpoint, it just hasn't been a great year. What we really do is our recruiting site, and obviously that's not breaking down players and X's and O's, and strategy is not my thing. I enjoy watching, and I enjoy watching great athletes do amazing things, but it's not the game. I enjoy talking with the athletes and getting to know them and their families, and talking to them about the game, excuse me, that is recruiting. But we watch the player profiles, and we watch the trends, and get to talk to 90 plus percent of the top 100, I would say. And just this year, you could just tell by the select camp numbers that it was, much different. But that was odd. And then again, we talked about this. The other three were amazing at how well they were done. Now, I think the Nebraska, Louisville thing, it's almost like things had been planned out. Now, when Dan and Danny had coached together for 10 years, right, they had talked about it. Hey, Danny had that clause in her contract, I'd leave to go to Nebraska, right? Like that was her dream job. This is her dream job, right? And Coach Cook had said that was his suggestion as replacement. So great programs do great things. And they did negotiations. Louisville did the right thing. And it was like next person up, just step, step, step. And the other thing Danny didn't make any rash decisions, and kept the staff in place. And Dan knew exactly what he wanted as a staff. And it's like one seat over, right? And Brian as well, Coach, Bernthal Booth did the same thing, trusted in Brian in taking over what she had built, because her staff had done it together, and she knew Brian was the right person for that job, and Brian knew they had the staff in place, and that had gone really, really well. And you look, Louisville, best recruiting class in their history this year. Creighton, best recruiting class in their history this year. Nebraska, very, very close, but come on, right? Like amazing. But they've had their best recruiting class in history is juniors, and it's the second best recruiting class in the history of volleyball. So doing well. At Florida, that's an administrative thing, I think, and it's just one of the things I'm really interested to see as far as the team, because they have a very, very veteran team that could contend for an SEC title, maybe possibly like a round of 8 run. It's just, I'm just interested to really, really see, because it, I don't know, it just wasn't really handled very well, and it just seems like support culture things there, and it's probably named Coach's fault is before, it was kind of before him. So uh, uh, interesting whenever you get a new coach, but 3 of the programs, it's like they didn't. Now, with that being said, all 4 of those coaches are new, and the bullets are real now, starting tomorrow night, and it is your call now. And those few feet over on the bench might feel like a few miles now, and that is when it seems like it seems like all of a sudden you're looking for that mentor or that other person, and you find out it is you, and just you, and you are the one in charge, and it's a lot different. And then you know that it is your job. And uh, now, Brian, head coaching experience, Dan, head coaching experience. All of them have head coaching experience, so that will help immensely. But those lights can be pretty bright on. I guess Dan's got to wait, but the lights will be pretty bright here this weekend. So interested to see. But they've all been there before, and just interested to see how they all do with their new spots. So portal winners, I mean, this is almost like it's a broken record, except Kentucky. Mac had kind of wanted to put that in there, I guess, that the portal, it's, the usual suspects. Now, I always want to get into talking about money, and that brings up tensions. That brings up tensions from the programs. But this year was different. I do think it was different from the financial side, because programs that had great boosters, they had money they needed to get rid of, because they knew the new rev share salary cap, as I call it, but they knew the new rules and regulations were coming, and they knew they had to get rid of it, right? It was a one-time, like, shopping spree, if you will. So this year, the NIL was ridiculous. So it was ridiculous, and the amounts and the numbers were crazy, even crazier than they had been, simply because they had money that they just knew they had to get rid of, because it won't be like that, allegedly, because of the new mandate and regulation passed down by the NCAA, provided that it doesn't end up in a court somewhere and held up and it's not, like I said, end up in litigation and, uh, you know, appealed by athletes and whatnot. If it goes as is and as said now, there won't be that type of money to pay transfers like that. And so those were programs that maybe had more and they spent more, but they did have more, I think, on a yearly basis or have done better year to year. Now, also, it's important to know, if you think about it, there are also programs that have better facilities. There are also programs that win more. There are also programs that compete for championships more often. They, can have prepared athletes now for pro careers at a higher rate, right? So all of those things also help. And if athletes have a chance to go win one time, those things are going to factor in. So yes, those things will all, as much as other schools may not like it, they can sell those things. And then if you factor in the financial part and it's higher than somebody else, those things will always matter. But I mean, it's no different in football. It's no different in college basketball. There are certain teams that always get the best transfers, and it happens in volleyball as well. But the one thing I was excited about was Kentucky, were buyers rather than losers. So A, that was a plus just so they didn't lose anybody. And B, they got two really good players. So that was awesome. I was pumped for Coach Skin. And so now they're really excited. And, they're in and they get to feel like, those other four schools feel every year. So for Kentucky fan, there's reason for optimism and be pumped, but there's also schools on the other side. And along with the portal, it's like the foreign portal this year was another aspect of college volleyball that we're all going to have to study and research and know about, because there were many more foreign athletes recruited or came in after a year or 2 years overseas. And that number was at least triple from the number of foreign players that came a year ago. And the college coaches that I talked to were like, that is not, going away. And that is not going away. And they are going to, there's going to be more and more for a couple of reasons. One, they've been training to play professional volleyball or training year round, and training so much harder. And now if they can come here and make a little bit of money and get an education, it's so much better way of life and facilities and just everything here than where most of them are at now. That, yes, it's a no-brainer. So, and they've been training younger and longer, that they're ahead of a lot of American athletes. Also, some of the schools that are middle of the pack, and they have no chance at out recruiting 10, 15 schools here. They can go get a foreign player and they're maybe going up against one or two schools. It's just the pot is so much larger that they have a much better chance to sign the huge pool of foreign players than go after the one player versus 15 schools in their own area. So whole different avenue for American fans to learn all the foreign players. And just look at rosters now, and just look at rosters this weekend, all the foreign players on rosters that American fans have to get to know, because there's going to be a huge influx of more foreign players, and the talent level is excellent. It's just a lot of new names that you have to learn and follow, kind of like NBA basketball, right? And they went through that change, 10, 15 years ago. So portal, more portal entries than ever before. I don't see that going down. I really don't. And good or bad, I don't. I do see. There you go. Hold on one second. I do see the phenomena of smaller school athletes moving up, right? Having bigger years and moving up. I do see that starting to happen more, whether right, wrong, different, no matter what you think about it. Volleyball has somewhat avoided that, other than other sports. And I see it coming. There's financial involved. There's better facilities. There's better opportunities. And the loyalty thing isn't what it used to be, right? It just isn't always what it used to be, and I don't think it'll be at the rate, but somebody's under recruited out of high school, or maybe they grow late. They have a chance to do things in the tournament. I see that, and with TV rights and exposure and things like the ABCA First Serve Showcase, there's certain programs that are getting a lot more opportunities, and that's what I talk about with other programs doing things to get themselves exposure, right? Not to point out a certain East Coast program, but we've given them positive shout outs during this recruiting cycle 4 or 5 times. Didn't even know they had an X account for a while, because we never heard anything back. And they've had a great class. And literally, we've gotten 3 DMs now from their recruits who we jokingly said, who they've said thank you every single time we've written something about the program or given them a shout out. And they're 16-year-old prospects are saying, hey, thank you so much for giving our program a shout out. There's 16-year-olds in high school telling us thank you for giving the college a shout out. And I was like, you need to tell your coach that they should be, somebody at the college should be doing that, right? And they're like, oh yeah, the coaches aren't very good with social media. And I'm like, at this day and time, that needs to be somebody at the college. They're like, oh yeah, the coach doesn't even run the social media. Actually, it's like some random person at the college who just checks it every once in a while. That's the difference, people. if a kid commits there and has a good year or two, that's their right to go somewhere else where they get more exposure. They get a game on national TV. You know, it it just is until other programs figure out a way that it's worth it to at least get on social media and promote these athletes, right? And do something to get more attention to their program, at least get on social media, you know, um, you know, at least get on social media to get them some attention. It is okay for the athletes to want more. This isn't 1995 volleyball. It just isn't. And you're either going to need to get out there and promote the program and the athletes in it, or they are okay to go somewhere else. They just really are. The game's really changing that much. Max early player of the year picks, and yeah, those are some pretty good picks. What I'm interested in, and this Babcock is amazing. What I'm interested in, last year at this time, everybody in the country was talking about Maddie Skinner, right? It's Maddie Skinner, Maddie Skinner, Maddie Skinner. End of the year, it wasn't Maddie Skinner. It was Stafford and Babcock, Stafford and Babcock. So that's my wonder, is at the end of next year, or at the end of this December, will it still be Babcock, or will she level off a little bit and somebody else will jump her? Will she stay on that amazing pace that she had last year and just continue to dominate and play at that incredible level? Or will she, come back a little bit like Skinner did, 2 years ago, a couple of years ago? It was, kind of had that Big Ten, player of the year. I don't know if it's curse you want to call it, but, look at there hasn't been a repeat Big Ten player of the year for a while. So just look there. But, you can't go wrong. I think starting a fantasy volleyball team, you'd be okay with any one of those five. And you guys can all think, Nebraska fans, you'd probably throw in a Harper Murray. If you guys got that one, Andy Jackson, great place to go. Harper Murray, somebody can vouch for, for a setter. There's not a, Izzy Stark fans out there, come on. We take Izzy Stark if we get her. Freshman, leads her team to national championship as an underdog. Like, come on, we do that. And defensive-minded people out there, take a bro to anchor your roster. Who's that? Lincoln Arneal. What's he always say? No love for the bro. No justice for the bros. No love for the bros. Right? But I had pretty good starting selections there for players of the year. You can throw some other names in there as well. So interesting to see. But that's my thing: is does Babcock stay up that amazing level, or do we see what kind of happened with Stafford last year, or Skinner last year? All right, a couple of things to go through, and these were questions that for Mac and I asked her about two of these and got her answer and then mine. So just questions that have come in, I guess, the last few weeks that we threw in from our mailbag. But it says, okay, this is our first class. These freshmen were the first group that Sammy and I actually, but we covered Still remember that trip to Kansas City, but we interviewed Skylar Pierce is a year older, but it was Reese Messer, Skylar Pierce, and Logan Parks. So nice job. That's the trifecta. But since this was your first class covering, what freshmen do you like? I mean, 100 of them, but what what freshmen do you like? Well, I really like the Big Ten um, freshman, and we're going to get to see Logan Parks was our very first Know Her Name episode, and that was a recommendation by a coach that'll be here um, this weekend. It actually was off the record, like I just said, hey, here's the series we're starting. We just couldn't. Know Her Name series was an amazing docu-series. It cost us like $1,100 an episode to have somebody edit everything for us, and we just couldn't get a sponsor for it. And so we couldn't afford to keep doing it. But our Carrie Leinbach, Logan Parks, Skylar Pierce, we interviewed Reese Messer. We just didn't get everything edited. So that was a pretty good start that we did. Sophie Randall, who is now a walk-on at Illinois, out of South Dakota. But Logan Parks, I can't wait to see her with Stanford. She is so physical, but you could move her out on the pin like that. Athletically, what she does, the setter, these are Mac's words and these are Sammy's words back when she was a freshman. She's special. I love, and I've said this over and over, Reese Messer, what personality. She's such a goofball. I think that is perfect for a USC team. I loved what she did with her club team in Kansas City, where she was just so non-serious. She wasn't screwing around. She just was, everybody was so loose with her, and her demeanor was so good. Now, she played basketball and loved basketball, so I don't think she got all the other accolades, the all-star teams, all that, and she didn't get the USA, stuff, but I think she very well could have. So I love Messer. And then, I mean, Texas's class. Now, Sigler T is going to be special. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens on tomorrow night. But I was around her for the first time, like being around her at camp this summer, and she's got a gift with people, and like the campers were so drawn to her, let alone what she can do on the court, right? Like I get that, but to be elite, I think you have to have that other part and that connectivity part. And I always use the saying that great athletes that are great people are so easy to cheer for, right? Like great athletes that aren't great people, just eventually it comes out. It just does. But when you're both, then you're elite. And Sigler's T was that. But setter wise, I love Besser and Parks. Obviously, Parks, Florida, the bro spot. Mullen on the right side, I think, will be incredible. at USC. Um, I'm going to miss a ton. We talked about this freshman class, well, Carter Spears, um, and I'm interested to see what Texas ends up doing, with their rotation, just simply because they were young with what they did last year. Um, and Harvey, I think it's going to be interesting to see how quickly she adapts in the middle. Now being their M2, the bros that will be playing and working themselves in, it's just so deep. But now I'm also, and volleyball people know, like, I think we've been spoiled, or we've been a little bit brainwashed into thinking what this Nebraska class, these juniors, right? Harper and even Choboy getting out there early, and Bergen, and that's how this goes, that's normal, and it's not. You guys, volleyball coaches, know this. That's not normal. They are very special. They are. It's just not normal. And I didn't realize that, because I got tricked into thinking that until I went and watched a lot more spring ball this spring. And there were athletes that I remember being dominant at club. And then they got thrown in to spring matches against veterans. And they looked, they looked like a fish out of water. Like like 3 steps slow, and like a third grader playing open 15s. And then when the other team subbed down and brought in their own age, they looked great. But I'm like, this is a girl that was just whatever websites, everything All-American. Then I realized how special the Harper Murrays are and the Bergen Rileys that can come in and play at that level as freshmen, because not everybody can do it. And so when we think that all of these athletes are just going to come in, and tomorrow night and Saturday, and these people that remember being number X in their class, and don't plan on them for this year, and they shouldn't plan on them for this year. And the ones we're talking about, when we start talking about 30 and 40 of them, like, the fact that we're talking about, all freshman team and 3 and 4 deep, it just shouldn't be that way. I mean, it takes a lot to play, but then excel and even start, and it takes a lot. And it just does. And so my hat's off to them, because the learning and the speed, and then the confidence, and they're going through so much new right now, and it's just a lot. And so they're going to learn, and they got to be in an environment that's conducive to learning, and they got to be with coaches that are building them up. And then they got yahoos like me talking about, like, beat somebody out, or what their team's ranked, and then they got, Dumbos on, chat rooms and whatever, I mean, especially here, talking about them, and there's just a lot. So before we pencil them all in as starters and All-Americans, I just got to be given time. So there shouldn't be many of them we're just saying are going to be all conference and All-American. And, the best thing for them is rotate them in, and then by the middle of the year, you're ready to replace somebody. And that's the other thing. That's where the culture of a program's got to be great, because it's kind of, you know, delicate, and it's not cool to talk about this, and it's not fun to talk about this, but you all think that just going in and starting is awesome. You ever been in a volleyball locker room? What I haven't. Can you imagine? Right? You've been in a high school hallway and somebody looks at somebody's boyfriend wrong, and how much drama that can cause. Imagine being a 20-year-old or 21-year-old junior who's busted their rear end to get his job, and now this 17 or 18-year-old hotshot comes in and takes your starting job, and the culture of that program's not very good. Imagine how that goes over in the locker room. And then a coach who is just like, well, tough, figure it out. And you're away from home for the first time, and all those things. Like, that's the stuff that isn't talked about, that y'all as fans and media and whatever have no clue about, that make college volleyball tough in the wrong programs, when recruits don't ask the right questions, that we don't get, that can affect somebody's whatever. So when we talk about freshmen going in and playing, there's a lot to it. So just a lot to think about when we like them, but this class is as good as anybody. It's, to be honest, better than anyone that's come after them since we've been there, especially at the setter's position. But okay, so Nebraska, you talked a lot about DBK's culture. How do you think it's setting in so far, and the player and the playing so many players? I don't know how it's set in so far, and the playing so many players. Oh, how that's set in. I don't know, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know. We're by no means like buddy or friends. I respect the heck out of her, and I mean, I just honestly, I hung out with her mom and dad and her husband before matches, because I would sit by myself in the O'Shea's bar across the street from the stadium, and they were nice to me. So when you pick up that straggler dog and give him a scrap, then he never leaves your side. So that's the mistake they made like a year and a half ago. And so, no, but listen, culture's the culture, and I don't care with any first-year coach, any of those people I named in that slide before. That's not perfect for anybody. Like, they all will have people that test them. Any first-year coach will, anywhere. I don't care if you coach for 25 years and won 10 national championships. You go to a new place, it's new. People don't like change. So all of them will have their issues somewhere. But I think it's been, for the most part, well received. I think she allows people to do their thing. And she said Lincoln Arneal is doing an amazing job covering DBK's Huskers. And he said, I think yesterday, that she had commented on, hey, I'm very transparent on playing time, and I can second that, because she said that at Louisville, and Coach Meskey falls right on through. You talk to the people at Louisville, and Camden Schramm, who's battling for their libero spot, told me that in the spring. I know exactly what I need to do to play or not play. I know exactly what I need to do. Athletes, employees can respect that. I think if you tell me what I need, at least I know. Now, I'm never going to be happy if I don't play, but at least I know. So it doesn't hit me like a ton of bricks when I don't play. Open communication is very healthy and it's good. What athletes don't like is when they're not told honestly, right? Any job place, poor communication is what causes things. Doing things that are like shady. And Danny DBK doesn't do that. She communicates. Now, it ain't going to be a 45-minute flowery kumbaya conversation. She can tell you what she needs to, and then she's gonna look, hey, like, get out of my office. Probably, right? Like, but she's gonna be real and she's gonna tell you. Athletes can respect that. Okay. And she's not gonna jump down your throat if you make a little mistake. She's just not gonna do that. She'll let you do your job, and she's gonna treat you like a human being. So that part I think they like. And everybody remembers she was in this spot. She knows how it feels. And so I think a big part of her remembers that. And when you remember that, that's in your mind and you kind of are like, okay, that sucked. So I'm going to handle that this way. Right? But she also is like, hey, yeah, that stinks, but I got through it. So can you, because I did what was best for the team. And so can you. And if you can't, maybe you shouldn't be on this team. That's how I think. When it really comes down to it, she's all about the team. And she's like, hey, I did it, so you can do it too. Right? Like, almost like toughen up a little bit. I did it, you know? And so I think it's going okay. But guess what? With everybody at every program right now, it's all just been talk. It's great when it's spring ball, and it's a spring match, and it's, summer workouts. And now all of a sudden tomorrow night you don't play, or you don't play as much. And that talk about, oh, we're going to rotate people. Yeah, that's great. But they're not going to rotate me. They're going to rotate her because I'm so-and-so. Right? And now it's on ESPN, and I only played half as many reps as I did last year in the Final Four. Now it really happened. And now it's not spring ball. It's a real match, or it's against Wisconsin. And now then you really see, right? Like a 3-0 sweep versus X. That doesn't test anybody. You find out when times are tough, not when times are great. And I think she said something about that on that press conference today. Like, we need to be tested. And I don't even know if we have the right leaders. I'm paraphrasing, but she said something about, I don't even know if we have the right leaders. Or if, like, you can't pick the right leaders in the locker room, and how they will react. We don't know that yet. And she's dead on. That's how a player says it. That's how a coach who's been through battles. And she's so transparent, everybody. Like she just gets it. But you can. And I've said that all the time. Like, you can go ahead. Like, everybody's hero in Nebraska land is Miss X. Well, okay, Miss X, you're the captain who gets to go out and wave at everybody, and that makes all the fans happy. That doesn't mean Miss X is the leader of the team. The leader of the team, unfortunately, is who they pick in the locker room, right? That's who the leader is. And that says a lot about that team. And you got to figure out how to deal with that in the locker room. And she was like, we don't know. Like, that's what we got to figure out. And then we got to figure out how to fix that and how do we react. And then early in the year, and we got to get better at that. And so they don't know. And she's probably hoping for a couple, as crazy as it sounds, a couple of really tight matches that all of these things get tested. And she sees that true emotion, and she almost sees some frustration come out. Like, she wants, I don't know, I just have Harper Murray on my brain right now. She wants Harper to like get frustrated because she wants to see what makes her frustrated in match 3, not in match 34. Because she wants to take match 3 and then she wants to coach Harper on that so it doesn't happen in match 34. Because that's what Danny does, is coaches the person, and will put her in situations that doesn't happen again. That would be my thing, is she really doesn't know. But she'll find out, and she'll work on it. And if they don't change her culture, then she'll get somebody who will buy into it, right? And that she can trust. And so when it comes to December, she's got 6 or 8 that she trusts in those situations, would be my guess. Just my guess. All right. What things do you want to see this weekend? And I'll actually have a slide on that coming up, things that we will look for. But my things are all chemistry related. And but I'm looking for new leaders that stand up, and I'm looking for people that play well together. Because all teams are brand new now. They're brand new this year. And I'm also looking to sit back and just watch some amazing athletes go at it, because volleyball is athletes getting better and better and better. And to be honest, I'm hoping we get a little John, but you know what I mean? Like, let's go. Like, let's get a little of that emotion going, right? Like Creighton, Penn State, like you were points away from the Final Four. You've been up for all these months. Like, oh, God, right? Like, oh, I ain't going to bring it back, but man, just pound one and be like, oh, because, like, well, seniors are going to be at the match, and, they'd like do anything to get out there again. And that's sports, right? Like, that's sports, is those seniors who can have to sit there and watch Penn State, and they like relive every single point, right? And Coach Booth is just like, wants anything. Oh, right? Like, even Mac is probably replay every point of her last match, and it's still, you can be like 30, and it just drives you crazy wanting to go back, and you're like, you see the colors of that team again, it still drives you nuts. And so, like, Nora Sis just probably wants to like take her position and throw her out of there and get back in there one more time. And they're just like do anything cheering for Creighton to somehow give them some revenge for the one they lost, right? Like that's sports. So it just gets your blood going. Gets my blood going. I'm not even a Creighton fan. Like I love Creighton and Penn State, but you want that revenge for those guys that were so close to that Final Four. Okay, so here are our storylines. That's college sports, right? It like, ooh. Then every time Creighton sees Penn State for the rest of their lives, they're like, oh, I hate Penn State, even though you don't hate them. Okay. 5 for 25. Storylines for me back that we're looking for the season. Number one, change is the new norm. Like those super seniors are gone, except PK. PK out in UCLA, she lives on forever. PK just gets to play forever college volleyball. But most of the super seniors are gone. So everybody is new. Like you look at Louisville, they're new. Pitt, they're new. The ACC is new. Yeah, they might have reloaded with transfers, but they're new. And they all got question marks. That's why I think Nebraska has such a huge advantage this year. Penn State has a lot back, but they got some key pieces that are new. Nebraska I just think has a huge advantage, A, because of their talent, but B, because of so much returning experience, while everybody else is, not everybody, but most of the top, 25 or 20 is new. So this is the year of change, new superstars, right? No more of the 5th, 5, 6-year stars. One thing I'm looking for is, does the entertainment branding start to become young a little bit? And I've been a huge proponent of this and harping on this volleyball. And I know that ticks people off, but it needs to be. And I just talked about it with that school, right? Yeah. Don't be 90 and get on X. I mean, if you're on, first of all, if X is all you're using, you are like 90, but you've got to talk to those people. This is Matchday Live. Like we're already like 30 years behind. And pre-game, pre-match day shows where they're more than 5 minutes before first serve. It needs to be a 30-minute, Wednesday night for Big Ten, half an hour on Saturdays or Sundays. We get actual human interest stories and stat leaders, a college game day show, where fans can get to know players, but to get younger and draw younger people in, college people in. So I hope something starts to develop where people can, we're working on a couple things, but I mean, like I said, I love myself. My mama loves me, but we're just two small potatoes, and that's the way it is. So I hope there's bigger thinkers with bigger pockets out there that start to step forward with bigger ideas for volleyball like they do for the big revenue sports. So, and I think we're getting closer. We'll finally see a dramatic 1-year turnaround from a volleyball team. So what I mean by that is like Indiana football, horrible. New coach comes in, brings a bunch of his old players from his old school, and then transfers, and they go from like 2 or 3 wins to a playoff team last year, right? Like a 9-win turnaround in a year. So it'd be like a new coach coming in. Yep, they do it with a lot of transfers, but they go from like maybe they would go from like 10th in the Big Ten to third or fourth. Okay, Big Ten might be tough to do. But so like maybe that'd be like Michigan State. Okay, Michigan State goes to like third in the Big Ten this year. Or I know UCLA had a huge roster turnover. So UCLA goes to like, makes a run and gets like a 3 seed in the tournament, maybe. Okay. Because it's never really been done in volleyball where there's this huge, dramatic turnaround. Now, I know SMU, but I don't think that was just a dramatic turnaround in year one. So, anyways, like a big time Cinderella story where everybody's like, oh my gosh. So, like like Northwestern, um, you know, huge from one year to another. So, is this year? It's happened in like Kentucky basketball, women's basketball. Last year did it. There's been a couple. Louisville men's basketball did that last year. It's happened in all other major sports. Hasn't, to my recollection, happened in volleyball. Just a cool story for the sport, obviously for the school. I think it'd be cool to see. So on the lookout from worst to first type situation, because again, that goes along with another one of my storylines that I'd be looking for. Is there finally more parity? Does it finally start to show up in P4 volleyball, or does the gap keep getting wider, right, between the haves and have-nots? Or do we have parity, right? Are there more upsets, which is going to be one of our fan poll questions? Do we have upsets? Or does our gap get wider? What do we really have if you ask the coaches? And not just because of what end side of the fence are you on? Like, what do we really have? Are we starting to get parity? Or is it just the schools with more money are getting farther away from the ones without money? What do we have? What's December Madness going to look like? Because other than the fact that it was against Louisville, and I really, really love Louisville, that Northern Iowa match was pretty dang exciting. And I think we could use 3 or 4 more of those. But the problem with volleyball is if Louisville gets knocked out, right? If Louisville gets knocked out of that tournament, what's our Final Four look like, right? Because do we have the crowds that travel? Another storyline and discussion. But and then I've been hearing some SEC talk, like the SEC is coming and the SEC is getting, have all this momentum, and they're getting, powerful, and they're getting so much better and so much better, and kind of coming for the Big Ten. And now, listen, I am all for that, especially in October and November. I love heading down to SEC country and checking out, a Texas match, or I'd hang out in the state of Kentucky. Y'all know that, with a Louisville or a Kentucky match anytime. But when I heard that, I'm like, is that right? That starting to be a threat to the Big Ten. And I love it. I would love that, just because I love parity anywhere. And I don't like that dominance if there is. Now, I know Texas on a yearly basis. But after that, I don't know where there's a threat. And then maybe it's like depth wise, but I don't I don't know, because the first thing is I just don't think there's administrative support in the SEC. And there's some coaches in the SEC that I really, really, really like. But I don't like their administrators. Like I don't think their administrators support them. You know, like I'm going to walk out my hotel room in the morning and there is nothing like what they got here anywhere in the SEC. And then they're supporting softball over volleyball. And now the athletes, the clubs, the South are amazing. And the volleyball in Texas is amazing. I think Florida's coming and it'd be great. But gosh, I don't know, like maybe passing the ACC. But I think it's a long way to go. Now, that sounds like SEC football talk, but I think that's a long way. I think that's a long way off. I wish your administration would support it like the Big Ten, because then you could, but you just don't. So I'll watch for that, but I think it's quite a long gap between the conferences. I would like to see the ACC, the middle of the ACC, come up and be compatible with the middle of the SEC. And that would make college volleyball a lot better, because I think there's a drop, and I'd love to see some of those schools pick up a notch and it give us 5 or 6 really solid, better teams in that area. But it's here nor there. So those are things I'm watching. And then one just for me is I really am hoping that this is the year that we have a couple big time natural heated rivalries pop up. I'm going to ask again for Christmas. And I don't mean like we're throwing this, anything that I think adding NDBK to the Big Ten, I think we're on the verge of something, but I really am hoping that we can add a little flavor to some rivalries. The Big Ten is the conference of rivalries, by the way. Every football team has like 7 of them. And, Coach Sheffield is the character of all college volleyball. And I've been liking some of Danny's press conferences. She's not holding back. She's very transparent. And so I'm liking it. So that's my hope. Like I said, SMU is out there. Well, right away, we got Pitt versus Nebraska, but that's Coach Fisher versus Coach DBK. And that's been the best rivalry in college volleyball, in my opinion, the last 4 years. So who knows? Maybe we get fireworks right off the bat. Who knows? But that's my real storyline. I would love for just a couple natural, heated, competitive, in the spirit of sports rivalries to pop up. So, all right, here's our next poll question, and you can go to our Instagram and vote on our story if you'd like, at Volleyball Adrenaline. But one of the best things about volleyball for me that really drew me in a couple years ago is I love the amazing non-conference schedules of the top teams and that nobody backs away from anybody and the best play the best and it's awesome. You make college football should be embarrassed compared, other than the opener, by the way, Texas, Ohio State, let's go. But other than that, go look at the Gophers non-conference schedule. But yeah, so the question is, this is the top 10, the ABCA's top 10. Will any of the preseason top 10 still be undefeated after their non-conference play? If so, who? Okay, you got to go look at all their schedules, but I know like last year, Louisville had the actual toughest non-conference schedule in America, but I know like Texas will play, is it? No, Texas plays Louisville in 2 weeks. Louisville will also play Kentucky. SMU and Texas A&M will play in that ACC Big East or ACC SEC Challenge. Who is Wisconsin playing? Do they play Pitt in? Or no, they play Texas up in Madison a couple weeks. You got to go look, but I know Kentucky plays Nebraska. That's going to be there. Broadway block party next weekend in Nashville. That's going to be nothing but trouble. Penn State is going to play Pitt, of course, that rivalry. So Nebraska, I know, will have 3 ranked teams right away. We know they don't play Texas. So all of these ranked teams are squaring off against each other. So go and look at their schedules, go and vote and let us know. I know everybody in Nebraska is going to say that Nebraska's will be undefeated. They may very well be, but they have a tough schedule and they will be pushed. What I'm getting at is, does anybody have a one-match letdown? Right? Does anybody have a letdown somewhere in non-conference? I would actually say Nebraska, if I was going to say anybody, for the simple fact that the one thing they have going for them is when you rotate players like I think Danny plans on doing, is one or two things going to happen. You're either going to pout because you're not getting your time, and then that's not going to end well, or you're going to be so hungry when you get your time, you're going to play your rear end off, which is what they're going for, is you stay hungry and you stay fresh, right? And that's trouble for everybody, okay? Which is what I think will happen, and I think they're planning on, and that's Nebraska fans, that could be a really fun season. But go look, because I don't think, I don't know. I got to go look. I got to look at what SMU has. I know this A&M match will be a doozy. I'm going to be there for that, and then I'm going to be there for this ACC SEC challenge to watch the Pitt match, and then Kentucky, Louisville, Texas, and then Pitt, Kentucky. That's going to be a fun night. So we'll take a look. Answer for us. All right, here's what we're watching for when Mac and I talked about it. So what are you watching for in Lincoln? First, Stanford freshman. I'm excited. I I know they'll be very good. I just am wondering how long it will take them to be very good because of what I had said earlier. They're freshmen. Um, and it just takes a while. Um, again, new teams, I don't care how talented you are, every team has a different type of chemistry. It's not last year's team. That could be good, or that could be different. So it's Pitt. It's not last year's Pitt. So it's not the number one team in the country that, steamrolled all season. It's different, right? Those guys were all, you know, seasoned veterans that had played a lot of matches together. This is new. Okay. I talked about this. Freshmen are freshmen. And as I think Beck Alex said on that uh, press conference today, our newbies, our newbies, our newbies need to get experience in this environment. Everybody's newbies do, right? Except they're newbies. Everybody's going to be cheering for them. But it'll be different. New combinations on every team. How do they gel? What happens when that whole crowd, Pitt, when that whole crowd is, yelling against you? What's your communication like, right? What's your communication look like? You're gonna get tested. It's gonna get loud. You're gonna have times you don't play well. You might have a set you play really bad. What you're gonna learn. This is match one. Coaches are going to have teaching points, and it's match one. Yeah, you might play really well. It's match one. You might play a set that's amazing, and then you might look like, it's 12U Emerald Division and the second set. Gator mentality, and I hope they come out and just play like that team was in the round 8 a couple years ago and kick butt and play completely together like they're on a mission. But I'm interested to watch how they play. I honestly am. I am honest to see the type of team that they have and where they at, because they lost a really big piece. Vandy volleyball. It's Vandy volleyball. They're making history. And Anders said it in an interview a while ago, a week or so ago. These girls have sacrificed so much, a year of not participating, redshirting for this, right? Like for this program. And it's real Saturday. That's so cool to be the first, right? Like to be the first. That's amazing. That's amazing. And they get to do it. Vandy volleyball. It's real. It's real. And they got freaking awesome color scheme. Vegas gold and black. I mean, come on. They're going to look awesome. And when they go home, that court, yeah. I mean, and what did Mac and I say like 100 times? It's in Nashville, people. I mean, they play in Nashville. Who can't recruit there? So Vandy volleyball is going to be here. And if you're going to a match, you can say, I watched Vandy volleyball's first match ever. Okay. Penn State, for us old timers, Penn State. We should talk about the champs. there's all these Rocky movies. And if you're like really old, I used this analogy last year on Texas. Okay. Texas 2 years ago was Rocky 2, right? And nobody talked about them. And everybody talked about Nebraska, undefeated, all these amazing freshmen, right? And Texas just didn't say a word and just went through, did their stuff. They're just hungry. They didn't, wasn't commercials, wasn't, nobody talked about them the whole tournament. And they just went through and they just kicked Nebraska's butt. Won the Natty. Last year, right? And you remember Rocky 2, kids just don't understand it. Rocky 2, he was like eating whatever he could find off the street, right? Like doing one-arm push-ups, wore the same grubby old sweatsuit every day, training in like the worst, stinkiest old gym, couldn't afford anything else. The champion was like this big time favorite, training in the world's nicest gym, had all these, showgirls like dancing outside his ring and these fancy trainers, and the media was all everywhere, and he did all these commercials and TV cameras all over the place and always cameras everywhere, and he was the fancy, right? Everybody loved him. And then Rocky was like in the middle of the hood and had to walk everywhere, couldn't afford a car. And just hungry, right? And like last year, that was like Penn State, right? Like Penn State. And they just went through. Nebraska has to come to their place. Penn State kicks their butt, just the Penn State way. In Penn State, the world's toughest place to play, wins the Big Ten. Okay, share the Big Ten. Well, it was just because it was at Penn State. It was a fluke. They go to the tournament, blah, 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 blah. Nebraska up 0-2 or up, 2-0. Great. It's over. Penn State goes on, doesn't give up. You never give up. Doing it for coach. We're just tougher. Comes back, sweeps them. Okay. Sweeps Louisville, national champs, because they were hungry, right? They were hungry. They were just hungry. Well, now the next year, what happens? Rocky Balboa wins the heavyweight championship. What happens? You come back in Rocky 3. He's driving a Ferrari. He's got a mink coat, right? All these rings. He lives in a mansion. He's won all these other fights that don't mean anything. He's got a big like French bulldog, and his brother-in-law's got a robot and whatever. Point of the matter is he gets fight with Clubber Lang, Mr. T, who's training the same way he did, and he's not training at all. He's training on the beach, doesn't care. What happens? Gets his rear end kicked. In like 2 rounds, he gets knocked out. So that long story is Penn State, Rocky 2, or Rocky 3? Is Penn State hungry, focused, nasty, gritty, never quit, nose of the grindstone, Pennsylvania, East Coast, tough, I'd rather punch you in the nose? Or are they like that photo shoot that we saw at Big Ten Media Days, right? Laughing, giggling, friends with Nebraska, I know, everybody. I know it was a joke, right? Where they're relaxed now because they won the Natty and everything's okay and we're all goofy now. Rocky 2 or Rocky 3 Penn State, because Rocky 2 Penn State will still win, can still win it all. They're just as tough. And they brought in somebody who hasn't won that Natty yet. So Rocky 2 or Rocky 3 Penn State? That's my question. And the last one, the stage is set for the Huskers to win it, especially this weekend, right? Because it's here, home crowd, and they are the most experienced team. They don't have a lot of things to work out. Yeah, new rotations and stuff, but all their pieces have played. Yeah, they got to work in a couple transfers. I understand, but their main blocks are all experienced. They have no nerves. They have no jitters. The other pieces they will work in will all have experience around them, and they're going to have however many thousand screaming Nebraska maniacs for them. That's easy, right? Everybody else will be a visitor, will not have the home court advantage, will be on the road, and will have many more brand new pieces working together than they do. So the stage is really set for them this weekend to get off to a hot start. But if you think about it, Final Four is in Kansas City. That's a home venue for Nebraska, right? So it's like they're setting them up to be the number one overall stage. So it's their year. It really is their year. So do they hold court? Do they hold serve, right? Do they hold serve? That's what we got to find out. And all the pieces and all the stories. But what I want to tell you, at this time last year, and we'll be back tomorrow, but at this time last year, we were talking about, does Maddie Skinner run away with the player of the year again? And does Texas dominate college volleyball again? That was our talking point. And none of those two things came close to happening. So we'll see, because a lot of different things and a lot of different stars are out there ready to explode, and that's what's going to make this awesome. And they're all starting to arrive in Lincoln, Nebraska right now. The AVCA has done an amazing job with this event. What a cool idea. Athletes are tuning in more and more, and they look forward to this. And it's catching on. And what a cool time to be a volleyball fan, right? Like, what a cool time to be a volleyball fan and a volleyball coach and an athlete that loves to play the sport. It's just an awesome time. And I'm going to go along. I don't even have a ticket yet. I'm going to go find a nosebleed ticket, sit up there, and just watch and take everything in, because I started this journey like 9 years ago, and I just sit back and enjoy the ride, because what a cool rise it's been for volleyball. So you guys do the same thing. Freshmen, it is so awesome to see these guys now. I will never forget Sammy and I walking into the Parks family home, and Logan being so shy and doing her interview, and her and Sammy both not talkers, and just sitting down there, and Sammy talking to her about being in the Final Four with Nebraska and talking recruiting. And now here's Logan going to be playing in this huge event, and how far she's come. And we're really, really lucky with what this has become for me and this company, and it's awesome. I'm going to be back tomorrow. We're still trying to call and line up a couple alumni and hopefully a couple coaches to stop by. So thanks for tuning in. We'll try and get a couple more fan poll questions out to you guys. So, hey, if you're coming to the matches, have fun in Lincoln. What a cool volleyball town. If you're watching on TV, enjoy it, interact on social media, talk about your favorite players, talk about the matches. Have fun, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be here all weekend. Take care.